everyone, and welcome to the second episode of At Home with Andrew. And clearly he is at home as he just jumped into the picture. Thank you for joining us this evening. I have no idea why I felt that Gene Krupa was sort of an appropriate thing as we went into
I
tonight's
think it was
dish.
perfect.
Well, I'm glad. It seems to make sense. I don't know why though. But thank you for joining us this evening, everyone. And just wanted to remind you as we go along, jump in with your questions and comments, whether it's questions about what's being made, if you have questions about spices that Andrew's going to be using, or if you see what he's doing and you have like any tips, tricks, shortcuts, anything like that, jump in. I'm not speaking out of turn because this is something Andrew has said as well. But this is
Absolutely.
this is not listening to Tim ramble on. This is at home with Andrew. So I'm going to take myself out of the picture and turn it over to Andrew. So Andrew, take it away.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody that is tuning in live with us right now. Anybody that is watching from the future or in the future, from the past, somewhere on there, that will be watching this through either the YouTube channel from the library's page, however you made it to here. Thank you very much for being here, supporting us. We really appreciate it. For those of you that may be the first time tuning in to At Home with Andrew, I'll give you the quick spiel and rundown. My name is Andrew. I am a chef here in Manitowoc, and I've been cooking for about 20 years now. My first job in the kitchen was at 14, and I would put chicken on marinade and help kind of batter and fry chicken when I was 14 at kind of a local truck stop gas station sort of a thing. And since then, it's been kind of one direction. I knew food was something I loved and always wanted. So as I started kind of speaking with different people that were in the with the library or different people in the community about, you should teach, you should do. We did a few at the library and they went over very well. But the library is a library and it is not a kitchen. So we kind of came up with this idea here of doing it at home with me. Couple benefits. One, you get to see me cook the way, not only would I cook at home, but essentially the same way you would cook at home. I don't have, a giant industrial kitchen at my house. It's, a glass top stove, cutting board, knives, everything that's, I would say 95% of kitchens in this area have. So it's going to be a very real, very loose, fun way to kind of connect, because that's what food's about, is connecting each other. So let's form a little connection ourselves and start on this recipe here.
Yeah, so, just so you know, Andrew, not
yes.
to interrupt, your food cam did come back for a little bit, and now it's gone again.
Okay, I'm getting a try. Something went wrong. Try again. That's what it's telling me.
I don't know what could have possibly gone wrong, because technology is always smooth.
So smooth. We're trying her one more time here.
Well, but like you said, it's loose and it's real, and you're at home.
That is correct. No TV tricks here, like I said. Can't even get it to work, let alone be tricky. All right, let's try this one more time. It looks like my
food cam is
Wi-Fi had kicked off for some reason.
That's lovely.
I'll just off my phone. I goes when I was restarting it or unintentionally restarting it.
Well, let me bring the food cam. Should I bring the food cam in?
Perfect.
At this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So tonight,
and I'll put the focus on you for right now.
Perfect. Tonight's meal will be Shakshouka, which is a North African dish of poached eggs in sauce. So what that means, or what that is how we're going to be preparing this, is we will be taking our vegetables along with some crushed tomatoes, putting them into a pan in a certain order, searing them off, getting them kind of all mingling and happy together. And then we're going to drop some eggs raw right on top of that. Crack them, put them in, cover them, kind of do a slow poach in that tomato sauce. And due to the variations of spices we're going to be using and kind of how we're putting everything together, you're just going to get this incredible flavor built up throughout this dish. That's really going to open you up, I think, to a new range of cuisine. Shakshouka originated from Northern Africa. And a lot of these North African dishes are packed with a lot of spices. Now, when I say spice, I mean different types of spices, not spicy. We will be covering how to make this spicy if you're someone who likes a little bit of heat, but it's absolutely not mandatory. Other than that, we're talking about adding, a little bit of chili powder, some paprika, cumin, salt, and pepper. So it will be a relatively mild dish. I mean, not even relative, very mild dish. But then with certain things like fresh jalapenos, cayenne peppers, harissa, if you have any, we can really bring that heat level up if you want to. Again, you're cooking in your kitchen, I'm cooking in mine. How you do it's how you do it. That's the beauty of At Home with Andrew, is we're all going to cook the dish we want and just kind of be here cooking it together. As Tim had mentioned earlier, if you guys see something that I'm doing that you're just like, hey, I've always done it this way, does that, why are we doing this same thing separately? Ask the question. Maybe you have a way that, your great-great-grandmother taught you and I didn't learn. So maybe you got some stuff in there for me that you could share this way, and we can, again, all become better and stronger in our culinary goals. So if you want to swap cameras there for us, Tim, I'm going to just kind of do a quick ingredient preview for everybody. So with this one, good cutting board, a good knife, a onion, garlic. Make sure I'm up. There we go. Some garlic. Again, we brought those shallots back as we had last time. Not 100% necessary. I just really do like shallots. Just a can of crushed. Let me see what I can. Oh, yeah, I am smart enough to work in a 3D dimension sideways camera. Look at me go. Just some crushed tomatoes. This one here has roasted garlic and herb in it. So just, again, adding that much, just a little bit, another layer of flavor. When you grab a ingredient like this, or if you wanted to grab like a roasted tomatoes, roasted red pepper, from a can at the store, because you're like, well, I really like this dish. Instead of the 30-40 minutes to stew all this together, I got 15 tonight. Perfectly fine. Eliminate some of these fresh ingredients, put what you got in there. It's all going to come, and the idea is the spices coming together and sitting in that pot. Obviously, the longer, the more mingling there is. But if you can find ways to shortcut that's absolutely amazing. Originally, and I didn't even have a zucchini on the list because I went out to the garden, and a couple weeks ago when we originally planned this, I didn't have zucchini in my garden, but now I do, so we might throw some zucchini in there. Bell pepper from my garden. We got some jalapenos, spices, chili powder, cumin, paprika. Some other ingredients that we're going to be working with today is some kale. This is just frozen chopped kale from like a bag in the freezer aisle. We use it in different things, so it's something I pretty much always have on hand in my freezer. And then a pot. With this one here, you just want something that's got a little bit of come on, find the angle, Andrew. There we go. A little bit of a side to it so it can kind of stew together, and a relatively tight-fitting lid so that whenever we put those eggs in there to poach, they kind of are steaming inside of there, as well as cooking from the bottom heat. And then we have 2 side bowls here. That is one of the other great things about this dish, is you need about 2 rounds of preparation, if you will. First one, we're going to pop some of these veggies going into here. We're going to put that in the pan and get those cooking. And then as that gets going, we'll add the spices. So let's start prepping our vegetables. Onions. When you are cooking an onion, I like to cut them as small as I can. Mostly just because, again, that eliminates the time. If I was to cut this into big chunks, something like that, they would cook and they would taste just fine. It's just going to take that much longer to cook than I feel is necessary. I'm going to turn my light down a little bit. I feel like I'm kind of bleeding out the tomato or the onions here. So, beats this light. Does that look better, Tim?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
More definition on the onion. Never a bad thing.
Perfect. And we can adjust this light now. There we go. So, cutting an onion. Should be able to, let me play the game here. Find the root end, right? One end's the part that comes out the ground. It's going to have big green stuff coming out above the ground. And then you have the root where you're going to get those little hairs coming out. What I like to do is on that top end, we're just going to cut this straight down and give yourself a flat spot to work with. Once you have that flat spot to work with, now your onion's going to be a little more stable, less likely for it to rock as you're halfway through and chopping a finger off or something along those lines.
So chopping a finger off is bad.
Chopping a finger off is bad unless you want like a neat nickname like 9-Finger Tim or something along those. Then if you want a 1920s mafia nickname, go for it. As I said, it's your kitchen, not mine. But please don't chop your fingers off, people. I feel horrible. So once you have that, we're going to take our knife. I'll try to do it this way so everyone can see. And I'm basically splitting that root section right down the middle. I'm going to take that root section and go right down the middle all the way through. Okay, so now my onion's in half, but I have that root section on both pieces. Again, you'll see me kind of just shove all my bits over because I have a garden and I love my compost. So take that outer layer off. From here, we are going, and I'm going to try and get a little bit of a different camera angle just so it's easier to see at the right level exactly how I'm doing this. So let's see if I can do this without turning off my camera.
There you go.
All right.
That would have been harder to do if you would have lost any fingers. Another
that
reason
would have been
to keep
incredibly
your fingers.
Exactly. So we're going to do one more thing here. Oh, man, I got all my cables and cords. All right, here we go. This is kind of what I was wanting. There we go. Perfect. So as we do this, what we're going to be doing is, sorry if any of you are getting motion sick, guys.
Oh, we just lost the food cam.
Yeah, of course we did. Why does it want to be like this to me?
I don't know.
Well, I will entertain as I bring this back up. So, as I was saying, anybody that has any plans or has any, feedback, especially on the cinematography, let me know. But if the feedback is the cinematography is no good.
I have a comment just so you know, and this is coming in from Pet Skull Brewing. No questions. Just want Andrew to know he's the bomb.
Well, thank you, Pet Skull Brewing. We much appreciate that.
And once again, great programming, Manitowoc Public Library. Thank you, Pet Skull. I'm assuming it's Paul, but I don't know for sure. Whoever loves us, it's great to be loved. And Andrew is the bomb. It is absolutely true.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate Pet Skull, and I really appreciate a good Freaky 220.
As do I. And these are unpaid endorsements. But Freaky 220, it semi ruined me for IPAs around the country. It really raises the game.
I agree. It hits in all the right ways. All right. How's food cam? That is perfect. That is what we want. Perfect. All right. So we're going to pretend like none of that happened, which is always easy to do in a live event. So what we're going to be doing with this onion now is I'm going to take it, and I do not, as I'm bringing this knife through, I'm not going to hit that root. I'm going to be a little shy as I go through. The closer you can get it, the better, but you don't want to hit that root at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, fingers back, nice and safe. Obviously, knife skills are something that takes practice. So if you do not have great knife skills, just go nice and slow. You know, you don't need to go a million miles an hour while you're cooking at home. So now that I have this cut, you can see I have this nice little fan going on. But again, it is still all one piece, right? So now I'm going to turn this this onion sideways, and I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to put it about halfway. This is kind of a bigger one, so we're actually probably going to do 2 cuts. Keep your hand flat if need be. However, again, you feel safe. Sometimes you need to tuck it in a little. And I'm just going to cut. Again, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go all the way to that root. Do it up here again. Just like that. Little pieces fall off, that's fine. So now that I have that lined up, I'm now just going to take this and cut it straight down against those initial cuts. There we go. And now, as you can see, we have all these very nice, even cut pieces. So all these are evenly cut. Evenly cut is very important when you're cooking, because that's what is going to make sure the stuff all gets cooked at the same time, right? I'm also going to go through and I find some of these kind of edge pieces that have fallen off before we did our cross cut, and just kind of even them up as well. Once I get that, I'm going to throw that into one of our 2 bowls. Yeah, I think if I had, pieces that were, again, this big, and, some that were this size, and you're sitting there and you're trying to eat your stew or whatever, and all of a sudden you get a piece that's still a little raw in the middle. I don't mind a raw onion. When you're not expecting a raw onion and all of a sudden you bite into one,
yeah.
Well, that's, that is a flavor you don't forget.
So not a question, but Nessa Green just wanted to say hi, Dunbar.
Why, hello. And thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you. Now, can I ask a quick question? You had said don't cut into the root. Now, is that both for ease of handling and for is there a taste differential once you get down to the root of it?
No, it is strictly for the ease of handling, and we have this other half here. So if you were to cut the other half of this off, right? As I start doing those fans like this way, they're just going to fall, and now you're going to have to try to kind of scoop them together and hold them together with your other hand.
Okay.
Where if you just kind of leave that end half-inch nub, it's just going to allow it all to be together. So yeah, nope, it's strictly for ease of handling.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that is how to dice. Another thing, if you do cut off the root, you can do, and just another way to prepare your onions for this dish, you will take the root off. So again, you take that little bit. Again, turn it, right? So the layers are kind of going this way over it, right? So whenever you cut your onions, you don't want to cut with them. And that's kind of how you get that real rigid ring, if you will. You want to go this way with it. And if you do that, just give yourself some nice thin pieces. Right? And you can kind of get these nice longer ones. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, that is more going to be kind of a mouth texture, if you will. What would you prefer? Do you like chewing on an onion? Is it more you like the flavor, but you don't want it there? It's completely up to what you're really wanting to do.
I have some great news from PetSkull, by the way. It was, in fact, Paul commenting, and he owes us both a Freaky 220 for product placement and advertisement.
That's how I like to do it right there.
It's all working out. I knew this at-home idea
Well,
was a
double
great
thank
idea.
you, Paul. We much appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
So next we're going to go with our garlic. And similarly to last time, you got your garlic here. You have a root end. Find my camera. We have a root end and kind of a tip end. I like to just take that root end off, but not all the way, because it just gives you a little pull tab. Kind of like an old metal can, sort of one of those pull tab types. Just makes it a little easier. Sometimes some of these garlics can definitely get finicky with it. And take the garlic, put that blade. You can see the blade is away from me and down. And I'm going to shoot the garlic across my kitchen.
Wow. Now, is that required for the recipe?
Yeah. The first one has to bounce around the kitchen.
Okay.
That's how you keep the cats out of the food later. Now they have a piece of garlic to play with. So I'm going to try that again. And peel off as much of that skin as possible. There we go. I just want to crack it a little bit. All that cracking it is doing is helping make sure there's no skin left on it. That skin won't crack, or that skin won't pop into pieces. It'll kind of bubble off if there is any of that skin left. Once you get your garlic, again, just a nice fine chop on this. If you don't like your fingers being in there, just pull them back, hold your cutting board, scrape it into a pile.
Nessa Green seems to feel that floor garlic is important, as she used an exclamation point to declaim it.
So once we get our garlic going, that's going to go right into the pan here with our onions. So once we have our onions and garlic into our bowl right there, I'm going to be shifting food cam. If you want to pull that down real quick for me, Tim, just so that I'm not getting anybody seasickness here again. We're going to do a quick swing on my camera.
No, like you said earlier, no television tricks here.
No television tricks, not even television employees. This is a one-man show, and my robot component Tim there.
Bleep blop blurb.
All right, so I think I got a good angle on my pan. All right, so now we have my pan with a little oil in it over medium heat. And I think we are ready to go back to food cam. There we go. We're gonna have that sitting there over medium heat. Again, as you can see, I just kind of got my compost pile sitting right there. We're cooking at home, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So once you have that oil heated up a little bit, go ahead and dump your onions and garlic into that. Give it a quick stir. So when you are cooking onions, garlic, you want to bring them up slow. You don't want to throw them into a super hot pan. They actually have quite a bit of natural sugars in them, and they will caramelize very well. And if you do that too fast, the outside is going to turn a darker brown really quick, which is either A, going to leave the inside still raw, or to get the inside cooked, you're gonna have to really, really cook your outsides until they're almost black. So again, about medium heat. I always warm my oil up a little warmer than I'm gonna cook it on. So once you throw that cold veggies and all that into the pan, if you have your pan right where you want it at and you throw those cold veggies in, it's going to cool off, and then you got to waste time bringing it back up. So if you want to cook here, heat your pan up a little bit hotter. That way when you throw the product in, it cools off to the cooking temp you want. And that's just going to, again, save you that 5 or so minutes, which, you know, can be ever so important when it comes to cooking dinner. All right, so now that we are starting to sweat our onions, we are going to refill my salt container. And then after I refill my salt container, we will salt. So I like to wait with my onions and that stuff until they get to this stage right here. You can see they're starting to glisten a little bit, and it's not from the oil. You can tell a difference because as you stir them around, a little bit of that moisture enters the pan and then evaporates. So that's sweating. I like to wait until we're about at this point, and I hit them with a decent amount of salt. At this point, that moisture is coming from inside those vegetables, right? Well, for them to open up and the cells are opening up to release that moisture, that means that you are now seasoning the vegetable and you're not just putting salt on the outside of it, if that makes sense. So just waiting that few minutes.
For the salt, would you use a finer grain, you know, like a fine grain sea salt, or would you use a coarser salt? Or doesn't it matter?
I typically use kosher salt for almost everything. It really doesn't matter at this point because it's going to mix in with that moisture that's coming out of those veggies anyways. You know, just kind of dissolve and dissipate into it. It's just more getting that moisture in that pan and allowing those veggies to open some.
Okay.
So we're starting to see it a little bit. I'm starting to get a little bit of kind of golden color on these vegetables now. I don't want them, as I said, to go very dark. I want to keep them in a very nice golden to light brown color. That's kind of our goal point here. So I'm going to shift this food cam one more time. Shouldn't be as traumatic though, so I think you can keep it up.
All right.
Back over to here, because we're going to talk about some of the other ingredients that we can add at this point. So let me get my cables away from my food. There we go. And this is, yep, that's my pot lid. All right. So bell peppers. Take that top off. If you cut that top close enough, you get this little ring. That's perfectly good. Split it right. Oh, I need to come up a little bit. Sorry. Split that right down the middle. You can either use your hands. You can use a spoon, a paring knife, however you want to split your peppers. Pull that insides out just like that. Pop those seeds out. You want to try to get rid of, in a bell pepper, there really isn't any heat, but that white part, the fleshy part of the pepper can contain a little bit of bitterness. So if you can get rid of it as much as you can, go for it. From here, we're just going to line this pepper up, working with our flat side down again, just to make it nice and safe and stable. I'm just going to cut it into some strips. Turn those strips this way. Cut them about the same size spacing. Yeah, got any big ones like that? Boom. Nice. Now we got some of our peppers. Now, peppers are going to cook a little quicker. That's why we kind of get the onions and all that going first, as you don't want to overcook your peppers at all. So get those going. Move right on over to this. There, again, we get this nice little piece we saved off the top. Just pop them into some even size pieces. We're going to add those to our pan. For our zucchini, I'm just going to take probably about this much of this guy. Don't need a ton, but I want a little of that extra meatiness, if you will, in there, texture-wise. I'm going to take that right down the middle there. And then you can go lengthwise, just like that. And again, turn it sideways. Again, as you can see, my spacing stays about the same. Back to that even size pieces. Another way you could cut these, if you kind of want to keep that shape, you just cut little medallions if you want. They're going to take a little bit longer to cook. So you might want to get them in the pan just a little bit earlier or a little bit quicker. But they'll cook, and they kind of give that nice shape and size and all that to it. I like a little spice in my life, so we're going to add this jalapeno right here. I'm going to treat it just like we did that bell pepper, right down the middle. Again, you can take the hands and rip it out, or grab you a spoon. And pull all those seeds and all that out. So for a spicy pepper, the seeds and kind of that middle part is where a majority of the heat is. It is not all of it, like some people want to tell you. There is still capsaicin, which is the heat, where the heat is, in the flesh of the pepper, but it is not nearly as much. So pepper, especially like a jalapeno, something along those, I like to cut into just a little bit smaller. Again, just if it's spicy, no one really wants to bite into a pepper.
So you'd use a whole jalapeno.
I put the whole jalapeno in there. Yep, de-seeded and all that. If you didn't have a jalapeno and you have habanero, if you have a different pepper, I'm just washing my hands now as I just touch the hot pepper, and I don't want to forget about it before I rub my eye or use the bathroom. So
that is a solid tip.
Yeah, that is a very important rule when you're eating spicy food, is to remember to wash your hands before and after going to the bathroom. So
could you use like a serrano in there as well?
Absolutely. Another thing that I would really recommend, if you could get a hold of them, is like an Anaheim or a Poblano, because I feel those have just really similar pepper flavor, but a little as a bell pepper, but a little less heat than a jalapeno. So you can kind of find that nice middle ground for your ingredients. So now we just added some more veggies to our pan, and they're starting to open up, the zucchini and that. So hit them with that little bit of salt again. And I'm just stirring these away. I got the heat sitting right there on that medium heat, and we're just stirring that away at this point.
Any chance we could get a look at the...
Absolutely. That's what I was about to work on.
Awesome.
So that would be my food camera dying, I do believe.
It's still, as far as I can tell, it's still broadcasting.
Is it? Interesting. I feel like on my end it died. Yep, I think it's like a frozen. I think we had a frozen picture type of a situation. Oh, we got a frozen picture? I believe so, because my phone is I used my phone, sorry everybody, for the food camera, and it decided it was done working for the day. So what tech change number 2 here real fast. I do very much apologize, everybody.
So, do you think the food cam is gone for today?
It'll probably be back in a minute or two.
Okay, I'll take it out
yeah.
for right now.
Perfect.
Autumn had a question, and this would be like an additional class, but any chance we could get a lesson on knife skills one of these days? Those of us who
Absolutely.
value all 10 of our fingers will benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that'd be a great idea. Thank you for the question suggestion, Autumn. Yeah, I mean, knife skills are one of those things that are very important, but you know, it's what you're willing to put into it. But I think having, you know, a little bit of knowledge is an excellent idea. You know, maybe we can wrap it into a little bit of fun and, you know, maybe do like a knife skills class, and then maybe get another local chef or two to come in, and maybe we can do like a little bit of speed cutting sort of a thing between me and them or something along those lines.
That would be fun.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Good. Yeah, because the one thing I feel I personally really lack is solid knife skills. I feel good about a lot of what I do in the kitchen, but not knife skills.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where do you need them? No. Does it become 1,000 times easier and better in the kitchen when not only do you know how to do it correctly, but safely and confidently?
Right.
It really is a life changer. And yeah, no, I think that was an excellent suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Autumn.
So I'm going to do a quick shift here of this camera and bring it down. What was my face camera is now going to become food camera temporarily, or 1.3, whatever version we're on now. If I can get the right angle. Come on now. There we go. That's relatively where I want it to be. Or not.
It was. It was for a very brief period of time.
Right. All right.
That looks good.
So from here, we are going to get our spices going. And I'm going to try something here. Let me know if I lose you whenever I shift this. Everything still working normal?
Yep, still looks good.
Perfect. So when we go through these spices, this again is just kind of a base or a basic Shakshouka spice recipe, right? It's going to have, you know, cumin, paprika, different things of that sort in it. And the amounts I'm going to give you are where I kind of feel is the right amount to give everybody the right feel of the dish and what it's going to be. So we're going to start with our paprika. And we're going to get 2 teaspoons of paprika. So I got my half teaspoon here. So I'm just going to go ahead in that second bowl. Go ahead and just get all your spices going and ready in there. So, all right. There's that. After the paprika, we're getting some of our cumin. We need 1 teaspoon of cumin in there. I am a big cumin fan. So oftentimes, even if I'm making tacos or something along those lines, sometimes I'll sneak a little extra cumin inside of my taco seasoning, even though it's already a pretty prevalent thing in most taco seasonings.
And it's good for you.
Yeah, it is a wonderful spice. From there, we are going to move to our chili powder. Chili powder, we are only going to do about 1/4 teaspoon of this. All right, it's got a little bit of heat in there. We don't really want too much of that. But most chili powder also just has some like a a roasted pepper of some sort. That's typically where you're going to get that chili flavor. Is just that little bit of roasted pepper feel. And I am going to add just see if I can't get this to go. A little bitty splash of some cayenne pepper. That is just to add that little extra bit of spice. As most people kind of know, if you've had experience eating cayenne versus eating jalapenos or a fresh pepper or something along those lines, it typically just has a little bit more back of the throat heat as opposed to a fresh pepper that's going to have like kind of a front of the mouth feel. So right here are our spices. Some other things that can be added in there is pepper, which I am going to just again add a little bit of white pepper. As you saw, it wasn't even a quarter of a teaspoon. That was about 2 sprinkles worth. And as we've already salted our veggies, we're not going to put any salt into the spice mix for right now. Just because we want to make sure we are not over salting our dish. All right. So I believe Food Cam is back on. If you want to go ahead and shift us to that one.
All right.
I'll take Andrew Cam back away, and it's no longer Spice Cam. It's the newest.
I'm glad I
Girl.
resisted the urge to change the name.
So as you can see, we've been cooking this down, and we have some nice color on our veggies at this point. It's not overly dark. It just has a very light caramelization on it. We're now going to take our can of tomatoes. I'll pour that right on in there. And hang on, I'm going to try to adjust because I have a feeling my other camera is wanting to go out on me one more time. I'm going to try to adjust some stuff on it here. Hopefully it don't go out again. So
what is the heat level you have this
right now I'm on about a medium heat. So we're going to mix all this up. We're going to put our spices in there. We're going to mix those in. And we're going to let this sit here and stew. So if you want to, I'm going to actually kick Food Cam off for a minute, Tim.
All right.
Just to make sure it's right for the next step. Because at this point, I have that sitting in there on that medium heat. And we're just going to let that sit for a few minutes. Again, we're going to let all those flavors kind of come together. And those spices are going to open up and blossom and bloom once they make contact with the moisture in there. They're going to really open up. It's going to get very, very fragrant on you. That's perfect. That's why you add those spices in at the end. If we would have thrown them on the vegetables and tried to toss the veggies in them, they just kind of would have clumped up, across those vegetables, like the onions and the carrot, or the onions and the zucchini and all those. And it wouldn't have made its way throughout the dish. The majority of that seasoning would have been stuck on those vegetables. So that's why we waited till we get that tomato in there, as that had the most heat or the most moisture. And that's what's going to allow those spices to kind of come across. So just giving it the occasional stir over here as we just kind of heat this up and bring it up to temperature. Now, when I say up to temperature, it's a very thick. It's like a spaghetti sauce kind of a texture. So it's not going to boil. You're just going to get that like kind of spluttering from it, right? And that's when you know it's coming up to that's when it's coming up to the proper temp. Sorry, I keep stepping out of camera here. I forget where I put my camera. So we are just bringing that up to temp. Like I said, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. While we do that, I'm going to grab my eggs. So let's talk about eggs here for a minute or two. And taking a look at and or choosing, come on, focus. There we go. Oh. Aha.
There's the
Choosing
sweet
a good
spot.
egg. Brown eggs, white eggs, that is more of the species of the chicken, right? That doesn't actually have anything to do with the type of yolk, or brown eggs don't come from brown chickens, I guess is what I'm getting at. And you can get eggs, especially maybe not commercially, but from local farms and all that are robin's egg blue looking. They have some that have a green tint. You can get some speckled. I mean, the box I have right here that I got, these were two that were coming in the same box of eggs. I don't know why my camera doesn't like the eggs, man. So
what determines the shell color?
Typically it is the breed of the chicken. Just different chickens, for whatever reason, put the nutrients or put a different calcium, because that's all this is, right? Is a little bit of calcium on the outside of it, together. To tell you the truth, I don't think it has much else to do with breed, and that, is why is that chicken that color or something like that. It's more along those lines. I love eggs. Obviously, it's their second dish. I've had eggs on both of them. I really, really like eating eggs. I know whenever it was about a year ago, a few months ago, everyone was really, really freaking out about egg prices and how horrible they were and all that. At the end of the day, they still were incredibly cheap for what you get out of a dozen eggs. An average eggs has about 6 grams of protein per egg. So a dozen eggs, you're getting 72 grams of protein out of a dozen eggs, for even when they're $5-6. A pound of ground beef only has 60 grams of protein in it. So when you talk about getting food and feeding your body out of your food, even at $6-7 a dozen, eggs are still a better source of protein than beef is. And there's so much more things you can do with them. If I have eggs for dinner, I'm fancy, and I did a Brenner. But if I have a double quarter pounder for breakfast, I'm a slob. So there's no stereotype on that. So I think I have enough camera now on my food cam.
Okay.
To kind of bring that back and kind of handle this last part right here. As you guys can see,
Nice.
we have just a little bit of bubbling going on in some of these spots on my thing. That is absolutely perfect. I don't really want it much higher than that. You can even be just slightly lower than that if you would like. So at this point, this is when you can add in any of those other ingredients that we talked about. If you want to add your kale in at this point, if you want to add harissa in at this point, which harissa is kind of a fire roasted peppers, and they're blended smooth, and then they kind of reheat it back up to remove a lot of the moisture content. It's a North African condiment. It's their equivalent of ketchup, if you will. Very, very good. Love it. But this is when you can add that stuff in, right? If you don't have anything else to add in, what we are going to do, I'm actually going to turn this heat off currently. So right now I just turned the heat completely off of this pan. And this is just as much for comfort level as I am, working with my hands directly over this pot as anything. But it's going to also kind of eliminate a little of the steam as my hands are in it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to take my egg. I'm going to crack it on a flat surface, not on the edge of a pan or a bowl. Crack it on a flat surface. I'm going to pop my egg right in there. At this point, you can put as many eggs in here as you would like, or as you feel you're going to eat. If you can get a whole dozen sitting on top of this, go for it. Awesome. So now that I have my egg sitting in there, I'm going to return my heat back on. And now I'm going to go closer to about a medium low on my heat, right? I don't want too much bubbling action and all that, because that's going to kind of bubble and pop my eggs before they poach.
Now, why do you advise cracking on a flat surface, not on an edge?
So whenever you crack on if you want to shift to the other camera real quick for me, Tim, I'm going to actually kill the food cam one more time just to make sure it's not going to click out on me in the middle.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and bring this down. So these eggs are going to take about 6 to 8 minutes to poach. So while we're doing that, we'll do a little bit of experimenting here. So when I crack an egg on a flat surface, it's going to do that, right? It's going to flatten the egg, but since it's a rounded bottom, what's actually going to happen, I'm going to go ahead and try to do it here slow enough that we can see. It made a flat spot, right? So what that means is, as my egg was like this, the edges flattened like that. So I'm pulling the shell out of the middle, right? So I'm going to flip this over and use the unbroken side. If I have an edge, such as this, of a bowl, a pan, anything like that, and now I hit this, look, you can see part of this shell is below that edge, right? Which means I just drove egg shell into my egg.
Ah.
And you can even see now as I turn it over, see how you can see that shell is now, man, this camera really doesn't like eggs. It's horrible. As you can see that shell, you can see that indent right there.
Yeah.
Is inside. Or if I go back to the side where I just kind of cracked it, there you can see the cracks that are on it, but nothing's pushed into the egg. And that's the only reason that's why you want to do that. It is just a simple matter of you're less likely to get shells inside your egg as you're doing it.
That's a great tip. I mean,
yeah.
I never knew about that at all.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to egg knowledge. And I am by no means an egg expert, other than the fact that I do like eating eggs, and I do like including them in a lot of recipes. As I said, it's a good cheap source of protein. I think that eggs are extremely versatile. Like, you can just do a whole lot with them. But part of the reason different eggs are, these are a good quality kind of a, what do they call it? Free range chicken egg is what I have. I can tell that the shell is harder, right? The shell is, I probably would have at least a difficult, I'm not saying impossible, but if I was just pinching the egg, it wouldn't be super easy for me to just pop my finger into that shell. When you go to some of these spots and you find those 99-cent a dozen eggs, and you feel like you look at the egg a little too wrong and the shell cracks, that's typically means that those chickens are caged almost the entire time of their life, which means what they're fed and what they eat is fully handed to them. And calcium's expensive. The way they finding that stuff is expensive, so it's not as strong in those feed. Where a free range chicken or something like that is going to get access to other sources of calcium just naturally, right? Eating bugs, they have calcium in them, that type of stuff. So you get these eggs that have a little bit thicker of a shell. So that little tip with nut on the edge isn't quite as important if you're using that. But next time you see some 99-cent eggs somewhere, Quick Trip loves to run their cheap eggs, Walmart, those types of, just the dozen eggs for 99 cents to $1.50, wherever they're at. Just physically pick one up and feel it, and you'll completely tell a difference. Reach in and grab one of those $5 a dozen, those little higher end free range eggs, and just physically you'll feel a difference. Okay. So when you're using those smaller eggs, which I do all the time, especially if I'm baking and I got to crack 200 eggs, I don't need to spend $18 a dozen on some eggs or anything like that. I'm gonna get the cheaper eggs. It's what you're gonna do. So crack them on that flat surface.
Nessa, Nessa wondered, what about cracking an egg against another egg?
Um, I, I don't know the science behind it. Maybe we can get the slow-mo guys in here to teach us on that one. I would suspect that then you're probably just going to make a mess there, Nessa. But yeah, that's all it was though. Tim was just preventing the shells from getting inside the egg.
Okay,
so
that's cool. Good to know.
Yeah, I'm going to shift us really, really quick again to food cam. If you want to go ahead and shift over to there for a minute, so I can give everybody an update on how these are looking. Let that steam clear here for a minute. All right, nice. You start to see those eggs are turning nice and white on top. So I'd say they got about 2 minutes left on those there. I'm going to kill food cam.
All right.
Tim, would you like to talk to the fine people at home and watching this about what is coming up at the library? Anything they might be interested in?
I will. I'm going to take you out just so I can pop a different background up, but I'll bring you back in shortly.
No problem. I'm going to be grabbing plates anyway. So.
All right. Perfect. That works out great. Just want to remind everyone, Paul from Pet Skull jumped on earlier. Our Bruin Bee, the adult spelling bee last week, went great. But also, just to remind you that the end of the summer reading program is coming up. It's just running for about another, a week and a couple, 2 weeks and a couple days. August 12th is the last day of the summer reading program. So log your hours now, get that in, log your days in, and make sure to come in and claim your prizes if you've been reading along. If reading in and of itself is a reward, but if you can get prizes for doing it, why not claim them? And you can claim your prizes through the 19th of August. The program officially ends on the 12th. That's when the logging ends, but you can pick up your prizes through the 19th. Also, coming up at the end of August, on the 21st, Monday the 21st, we have a program coming up called Made at MPL, and it's about all the different devices that we have in our IdeaBox makerspace area. The 3D printers, the Glowforge, the 3Doodler pens, and previewing things that we're going to be starting to roll out in there, like the sound booth, where you can do, professional level sound recordings on there. That happens on Monday, August 21st from 5 to 7 p.m. I know I'm giving that a little early, but it is a really cool program that we have coming up, and it's called Made at MPL. So keep an eye out for that, and that is what is coming up. And you know what? I'm going to bring Andrew back into the mix.
Why, hello.
Well, hello. Fancy running into you
you guys were gone.
What a smooth segue.
I went ahead and started on the next culinary piece of dinner tonight. And I know it's probably one a lot of people need help with. So I apologize if I skipped. But I'm making toast. I'm doing so in a toaster by pushing the button down.
Wow. So, from scratch, you're making this toast.
From scratch toast with purchased bread. So this is how I plan on eating mine tonight. I think it over toast is great. Over rice. If you have like some ancient grains such as some farro or couscous or quinoa, as the cool kids call it, go for it. That, it is what your family prefers, what you prefer, what you have time for. For me, I'm doing it on just a little bit of toast because I do like kind of having some form of a starch, if you will, in there. Just almost soak up all those juices, and it kind of gives me a platform to serve it on. But I would absolutely just scoop this into a bowl and eat it with a spoon. No problem whatsoever. But tonight on the menu is toast. Yeah, toast.
What kind? What brand? What varietal of toast?
A 90-cent loaf of white bread.
Nice.
in a toaster on the second setting. I recently learned, I thought there were settings. Turns out it's just minutes. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your toaster is
You're
just a
kidding.
timer. Nope. I found out, I was like, that's not real. I looked it up. Yeah, like 95% of toasters, it's just 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's just a timer. So whatever you have it set on, yeah.
Between this cracking eggs on a flat surface and the toaster timer knowledge,
Yeah,
I've knowledge
that's
is
what we're
power,
here
baby.
for. That's what we are here for. All right. So I think I have food cam up, and it should be pretty good to go. If you want to shift us back over to that
definitely.
one. And
All right.
I'm going to try and bring this food a little closer so everyone can kind of see the poached eggs. You can kind of see them now. They should have a little bit of softness, a little bit of jiggliness still to them. But again, this is, how do you prefer your eggs? Do you not like runny eggs? Leave them in there for another 2 to 3 minutes. Do you like them a little softer? Do this after 4 or 5 minutes instead. Again, we're cooking at your house. I'm cooking at mine. That's the beauty of this. So I'm going to shift camera around one more time. Hopefully. Oh, yeah. I'm getting smooth with that.
You
Now
are.
if I can just learn how to keep it on. So again, have my plate. Two pieces of toast right there.
Toasted for 2 minutes, I believe.
Yep. Right around that 1.5 to 2. I'm going to put a little bit of this. You can see a little bit of the whites, if you will, from the eggs. Kind of, ran throughout and stiffened it up a little bit. I'm going to get that right on top of there. I'm going to go ahead and get myself, get that egg right on top. At this point, if you have some fresh parsley and you want to, hit a little bit of fresh parsley right on top like that, give it a nice little splash of green, and also kind of bring that fresh flavor back into the dish. This is that perfect time. Another relevant tip, I will say, as you are cooking your stuff down, giving it little samples here or there, making sure your salty level is right. Again, I didn't want to have you guys constantly watching me put salt into the dish. And while salt is important, I also know different people have different diets on salt. So I didn't want to sit there and be throwing salt in the dish every 3 minutes when some people are on a restricted salt intake or something along those lines. So again, just taste test. A lot of times when I'm cooking at home or professionally in a kitchen, I'll have 5 or 6 to 20 spoons sitting next to me. Obviously, I don't want to constantly use the same spoon and spread my germs, if you will. But yeah, I'll be trying to sample stuff as often as I can, especially if I'm making a gravy, I'm making a sauce, something along those lines.
And
so,
is there any way? Yeah, I was going to ask if you could bring it. Oh, and it doesn't hate eggs once they're cooked.
Once they're cooked, yeah, I guess maybe it just thinks it's a little round head or something.
That looks beautiful. And Nessa wanted, upon seeing it, simply said, "Yum."
So I'm going to try to get another angle for us here, just so everyone can kind of.
And Brenda says, "Looks delicious," and I agree with both those assessments.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Vanessa. Yeah. So here is our Shakshouka, or tomato with poached eggs on toast.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and kill food cam there. You
right.
Can leave that up. So I think it'll pause that image there if you're wanting to leave that up for the for the people.
I'll bring it up and I'll keep that on the side there.
Perfect. So some other things to do with this dish. Like I said, rice, put it over some grain, over toast as I have it right now. Any of these things work great. Another awesome and amazing thing to put this over is a great steak. And a good steak that goes with this is going to be kind of fatty, and maybe with a little bit of that char on it, because the acid from these tomatoes is really going to balance well with that. So if anybody's looking to learn how to cook a great steak, either on a grill, over a campfire, or anything like that, Tim has some news for you.
That's what we're going to be doing next month, approximately a month from today, on Thursday, August 24th. We're going to be taking things out into the backyard, I believe. That's correct, isn't it?
That is the plan. Yeah, so I have a semi-new constructed fire pit in my backyard. And yeah, my plan is to work on showing you guys how to cook a nice steak outdoors over an open fire. You know, just in time for that Labor Day weekend is coming up. That weekend, right?
That weekend.
That is the weekend, I think, or one after.
Yeah,
so if anyone's going camping for Labor Day, which I know is a big thing, or you know, enjoying some cooler fall fires, yeah, we're gonna be working on how to make a really well done steak, and you know, probably figure out some sort of a side that we can do either out there over that or as a small side dish with it. But yeah, Shakshouka, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Yeah, and I believe our friend Eric the sommelier will be joining in next month for some wine.
That is the plan as well. Yep, absolutely. So he'll be bringing us a couple different wines to pair with grilled food, and he's going to talk a little bit more about. Maybe less about that direct pairing, but he's going to give just a little bit more in terms of how to pair food if you are going camping, you know, which kind of means smokiness and this. So what is a good wine there? How to pull a wine for this as we do it. Because again, the steak is, you know, it's going to take a little bit to cook. So we'll definitely have some good filler pieces while we watch a steak sizzle.
Yeah, so we're not just selling the sizzle. You know, they always say, sell the sizzle, not the steak. We're selling both next month.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, if everyone wants to make sure you bookmark this or click, you know, make sure you save where there's a videos app, and, you know, in your kitchen on your stove, have this delicious Shakshouka going while we cook a steak in the backyard, and kind of combo these recipes to make an excellent dish.
Yeah, it sounds like an excellent combination because, I mean, like you were talking earlier about, you know, eggs with everything. I mean, burgers are increase exponentially by putting an egg on them. So steak
absolutely with
Shakshouka on it would be amazing.
Just absolutely. Amazing.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a blockbuster month next month, so don't miss it. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell anyone who looks like they need a steak. August 24th on our Facebook page and YouTube channel is the place to be. MPL, the third installment of At Home with Andrew. If you did want to get the recipe, if you didn't get the recipe for tonight's dish, just head to the events page on Manitowoc Public Library's Facebook page. Even though the event is past, it doesn't go away. Just click on prior events, and the recipe is contained therein. It's also on a couple places just on our feed, but if you don't want to search for it and you want the recipe, just head to the events page. So thank you everyone for tuning in this evening. Thank you, Andrew, for a great recipe and a great class, both fun and educational. I love these classes. And on behalf of Andrew and myself and the library and anyone else you want to include, happy to send it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, thanks for everybody who popped in. Paul from Pet Skull, Nessa, Autumn, everybody that's kind of reacting and joining in the conversation. If you guys have any comments afterwards, I believe today there was something that was one of the there was the thread posted on the library's Facebook page. If you guys get to this in the next day, 2 days, 3 days, 2 months, whatever it is, find that post again and leave a comment on there of with the pictures of the food that you made. I would love to see.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I would love to see everyone's finished dish.
And look out for the possibility of a knife, of a cutting workshop.
Absolutely.
Knife skills workshop. And I like the knife skills competition that ended out. So have a great rest of your evening, everyone. From Andrew and myself, goodbye and have a great rest of your night. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.